DNA to see if any of that DNA would match.
Right, they were going to
H.H.
use.
Holmes.
Well,
Right.
it
They were gonna
actually
use
did
Jeff.
match a person that was in England. His
It
name
did?
was Aaron Kaminsky.
Mm-hmm.
He was a barber.
That's
It was Catherine Ebbs. Catherine Eddis, that was her.
Edis, I think. Yeah, that was the victim.
Yeah. Well, the DNA matched him,
Okay.
and he was actually one of the quote unquote.
Apparently there was a main person.
One of the suspects?
Yeah, he was a barber in White Castle
Yeah,
at that
I remember hearing
time,
about that.
Okay.
I remember hearing about that.
and that DNA matched his thing.
But there was other DNA on that too. So there was a
There was
majority of one person. And
And
then
who
there
was the majority?
Well, it was that
his?
guy, him and her.
He was the majority.
Right, but she was, prostitute, so I don't.
There were
mean- I
lots
don't
of
mean
male
nothing.
people that
And
probably
then
touched
people could have
it.
been handling it after the years.
Yeah, that's
over
what I
time.
thought.
So we
Yeah.
can't touch it.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that they were able to extract DNA, and then they found a relative of this guy, and then you were able to say, yeah, it matched. That was
Yeah.
him.
That is very amazing.
That is.
Everything that
After
they
all
could
that
do
time.
after over
Yeah.
100 years.
Yeah.
They could take this swatch of cloth that probably was in, attic, was in a basement, was in wherever the heck this police officer might have left it, and then wound up.
I mean, it
making
would
its
be
way
really
to-
interesting because
I'm sorry.
I talked to my daughter. My daughter she worked for Discovery Channel. Now she's working for Fox Entertainment in Los Angeles, and she has actually been part of producing these type shows. And she's a bit of, I mean,
Is she a skeptic too, Keith?
well, yeah, because she knows what's going on behind the
Yes.
scenes, and because I asked her, I was like, how much do you think it would cost to even like make this
Produce,
show? Because
yeah.
they got to pay all these people. I'm assuming they did pay all these experts, quote unquote experts, to look at
Yeah, I'm
right?
sure they didn't do it for free.
doing this DNA analysis, doing
Yeah.
this sonar, and I mean, she gave me a number. It was roughly ended up being around $2 million. I mean, you think it cost $2 million to make that show? I mean, they did a lot of stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, $2 million to
And I
chase
thought
this
he was
wild goose
He
chase.
was the producer, and where
He
did
produced it,
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, I
I
think
believe
so.
so.
Where did
Okay.
he get the money then?
Well, he was a
Well,
lawyer.
Okay.
Well, so he has an incentive to make a show that's,
He wrote
you
a
know, they
book.
had the cliffhangers every 15 minutes. It's like,
Right.
it's the Ripper.
Right.
Right now, I enjoyed the program. I enjoyed it, but I wonder how much you could buy into this, because it's almost like, and that's what my daughter was telling me, that these so-called experts, a lot of times they're just
not?
guys. They're just talented people with like bachelor degrees, and they're good on camera, but they're not actually like experts.
Yeah, because
They
we were
wouldn't,
saying the
like,
real
in the real
experts
sense.
probably wouldn't be as good on TV as these people.
Right.
So the
Probably
real
boring.
experts
Yeah.
were probably boring.
Well,
So
I
they
think- I
couldn't
think-
use them.
I think the people.
You know, I just
The people
I
who were
don't know.
doing the DNA analysis, I think they were real. I mean,
The thing-
they were not.
Well, it was a lab. It had to be a lab.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
and
could-
the one who, after they brought what they thought were the bones of poor Benjamin Peichel to the lab, I mean, she was honest with them and said, no, this is animal bones. It's not a person.
Oh, so they brought the bones that they thought were of the child,
They did.
Peichel child.
They did. Yes, they did.
Okay.
Because they dug them up, and there was a cadaver dog. That's the other thing.
Mhm.
When they were looking for the bones or some evidence of a body of that little boy, they had a cadaver dog.
Mhm.
Oh, right, he was laying down, which
And-
is cool. I never seen nothing like that. That was
Yeah,
really cool.
and the dogs are supposedly trained well enough to respond
Right.
to that. And they asked the handler if the bones were that old, or if the cadaver was that old, 125 years, would the dog know? And she said, these dogs are specially trained for that.
To find old
The one
cadavers.
thing
Yes.
that I found was weird is that dog laid down to a big old tree.
Yeah, yeah.
And they dug not by a big old tree. I don't know. You have to watch
don't
it.
know.
The
They-
dog laid down. It laid down
Right next to
once,
the
and
tree,
that was a
yeah.
fake,
Yeah.
a false positive or whatever,
Uh-huh.
because it got back up again. And then it laid down again and was right next to that big old oak tree or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And then they didn't dig. They did somewhere else.
Well,
They
she
didn't dig
said
next.
that she
So I
had
was like,
said,
oh, they ain't going to be able to dig next to that tree. So,
she had said she wanted to go back and dig up the whole place.
Yeah, but you know
that
what?
never happened.
And within 100 years back then, there's probably plenty of people that died all around that maybe that
Were
wasn't
buried there?
yeah, and maybe that wasn't a big place where people went and someone was just wound up dying there or you know
their
being
body
killed
would
by
have-
somebody else.
Their body
Well,
would have to be there.
and if it's
underground
super
for the
rural-
dog to find.
Oh, so it was the cadaver dog actually knew there was something under the ground.
And it
Yes.
had a hit
I
on
thought it was just a cadaver. It doesn't.
No,
no,
okay.
cadavers.
No.
Okay.
So, to me, they never really explained why the dog hit it, had a hit on it,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't find anything.
Oh, right. They didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Why did the dog pick up whatever,
Yeah.
chicken bones or
Whatever it
a
was.
cow bone or something?
Mhm.
She
Yeah.
was saying no, it would have to be
It was
human.
looked
Yeah.
like it was a rib. Looks like it was part of a rib, the way the
Okay.
bone
Well, they
was.
found little pieces and
Little
then
pieces, yeah.
then a bigger chunk.
And then they found buttons,
Buttons,
that
yeah.
was interesting.
Yeah, that
which
was.
I'm sure if you dug up any dangle where it's populated by humans, you're going to
Yeah.
find all manner of things.
Yeah.
I know anytime you do a building project in Philadelphia, if you dig down, you find all kinds of goofy stuff. Other buildings that were left there, foundations.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to find.
Right.
Yeah. So then, what actually happened when we get to the end of these episodes?
Well,
What was
he-
there anything between what we were just talking about and
Uh-huh.
towards
Well,
the end?
Well, what are you talking about, digging up the grave?
Well,
Wow.
I don't know because
That
Not
was
yet.
what they did.
Not yet. In 1893, that's when he went to Texas.
Oh, they were talking about tracking down other Ripper-type murders around the country. They were doing a scan of all
To-
newspapers to
to
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
What-
he had a style of killing
Yeah.
that,
Right.
that was
And they-
Jack the Ripper-ish.
And they saw stuff in New York
right. And he was
after-
in New York.
after he died. The
Was that after he died?
Yeah, there were murders like him after he died.
After he
In
was
New York,
executed.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah.
slash type, yes,
Okay.
after he was hung.
Right.
And then they were getting up, and that's the whole other theory that he had. Not only that he was Jack the Ripper, but that he conned his
They-
guards and stuff because he had a ton of money.
That he
You know,
could.
Hearst gave
it
him a bunch
wasn't
of money
him hung.
to write
Okay.
his fake book.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
he thought they paid him off, and then they thought they placed another, and it just, fits the story. They
Yeah.
put another dead body in there because this guy had no shortage of dead bodies, right?
Yeah.
And that he wasn't actually hung and he got away.
No,
And then there
okay.
were other murders,
Right.
and the one in New York was near the Astor Hotel that he
He
had
stayed
stayed
in.
at frequently, or when he was in there. Yeah, so, but that whole thing just went up in a puff of smoke.
Okay.
Now
It,
he
Right.
left.
it looked really interesting, and now another, larger
Shiny
than life.
object.
Another shiny, exactly.
Look at this.
Another shiny object, which that's cool. It's part of it, right? You're watching this
yeah.
show. It's your dear entertainment. It's not a full-on crime investigation.
No.
This is just a
What if?
what if, and it's just a television
Yeah.
show. It's not a crime. They're not having right cops and the attorney general
CSI and
William
all
Barr
that.
out there.
Yeah.
Well, was supposedly an ex-CIA operative.
Right. But she's
she
ex, so
Yeah,
she's
but
not-
she had
she's not
the-
law enforcement anymore.
No, but she had the expertise to follow up on this stuff and know whether it was worth following up on, and
What was her?
I would really like to know what her real background was. I was going to look that up.
you don't think
But I
she
don't-
was really
No, I wonder, just only because of what my daughter told me, is that a lot of times they pump it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe,
She talked
she
about
could have totally been in
Al-Qaeda
the
and
CIA,
stuff.
but she could have been
yeah, that's right.
She talked about Al
What
Qaeda.
she did for Al-Qaeda, she compared it.
Yeah. Well, certain things that they do,
Right.
she compared
She
with.
could have been just a staff person at the CIA
Maybe.
that, I don't know. I'm
Right.
just saying that I became suspicious that this thing's getting hyped up a little bit too far. outside of reality. But also interesting. Like, a great,
Well, you found some interesting tidbits that you guys took out of it, so it's worth watching for
totally
sure.
learned stuff. Totally learned stuff.
Towards his downfall,
Right.
he was ready to build that castle in Fort Worth, Texas, but he was stealing horses in Texas.
Right. That ain't a good idea.
No.
You can kill people,
Yeah,
but
it's
don't
kinda
steal
hard
horses
to
in
hide
Texas.
Here's my horse.
Kill people, no problem. Horses, they'll hunt you down, and
But
Just like
Yeah.
cats.
that was my one mistake. That was my one mistake.
and cats.
Yeah,
Cats
don't
on
screw
the
with cats, and don't screw with horses in Texas.
so he was ran out of Texas because of that,
Mhm.
before he could build a
The
hotel.
murder hotel there.
He eventually got to Philadelphia. There were a couple stops before that,
Right.
but he got to Philadelphia, and that was August of 1894. And at that time, he and his associate, Benjamin Peitzel, established a phony patent office.
Right.
Another one
Right.
of his schemes.
Right. I remember that.
And meanwhile, they had the Pinkerton Detective Agency in Philadelphia on his trail. They were the only detective agency at the time that had enough experience to track them,
And resources and
resources and whatnot.
Can I just ask you about the patent office? Do we know why they did that? What kind of scheme would you have gotten from a patent office? People paying you to give them a patent, maybe, and then not actually having it?
I don't know how
I'm
they-
just
Yeah,
curious
that's
to
been a
see
fake.
what that would have.
But it was
Yeah.
fake, so whatever they did,
Right. I
It
guess
wasn't
ask people
real.
to give you money to give them a patent, and they actually don't give them a real patent.
He's a
Maybe.
swindler.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what he was.
we have an audience.
Oh, I can't-
Another-
oh, I'm sorry.
Another partner in crime over there.
I should have thought that out. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all right.
So
But it was the insurance
the Fidelity
money.
Insurance
They're the
Company.
ones that had the money and the resources to go after this guy. They're
Yeah,
the ones that were going
yeah.
after him.
But their insurance investigators didn't have the skill, the
Right.
expertise that Pinkerton did.
Right.
So they hired Pinkerton, who at one point was security for Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
But that didn't turn out so well for Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, so it was. Well,
I don't think they were security on the night he got assassinated. I think it was early.
yeah, because it would have been when he was in
became
Gettysburg,
president, or the day he became president, that inauguration, they had to actually put him on they put him on a different train than his family
Mm-hmm.
because there were assassination rumors, and that's what the Pinkertons were there, and
Okay.
they made him do that, get on a different train,
Oh.
and actually Lincoln regretted that because when his political rivals found out about it, they
had something to
they
say.
tease him. That's not my, you're not. What are
Yeah.
you doing, hiding, and you send your family there,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Anyway,
I thought they were out of Pennsylvania. They weren't the Pinkertons.
They were
So
in
I
Philadelphia.
thought- okay, so I thought maybe in Gettysburg.
I don't know.
But
Oh, you mean the Pinkerton, like
Detective
where they
agency.
started? They started in Philadelphia.
Oh, I don't know.
about that.
That's where their agency was when
oh, okay.
Well, that's
when they were hired to your mustaches.
Yes, don't let it fall off.
yeah.
Do you need some help with that?
Hey,
She wants to wax it for
Hey.
I
you.
want to, rip it off. But anyway, the Pinkerton detectives did find the two little girls that Holmes murdered. Now,
Peitzel girls.
right, so Holmes had taken the three Peitzel children from their mother. She willingly gave them the three girls because he told her
the
For the-
Pinkertons are going to be looking for a
right,
woman with
five
five
children.
children. So now you only have two.
Right, so yeah.
Yeah.
But they did find the two girls in Toronto.
Toronto, right?
Yeah.
So he did go to another country.
Yeah. He eventually was nabbed in Boston, and they took him to Philadelphia for the trial, and that was the trial was in 1895.
Okay.
He was executed in 1896. And then they started talking about the Holmes curse.
Right. That was interesting too. All the people. It's like
There were like
the curse of the Bambino.
There were
All
like,
these people.
there were like 6 people who were somehow associated with his trial and his hanging. And that were around
Mysteriously
him.
died.
They all died.
prosecutors.
They thought,
wow.
and then Mudgett says, "Well, Holmes must have done it."
Yeah, he was convinced that
Right.
He escaped the grave.
he swindled his way out of.
And killed these people.
Right, right. Because there were Ripper-style killings again after his execution.
Yes.
So they thought that he had
got
not
away.
been executed.
Right.
So then how does this wind up?
Well, it winds
Well,
up.
they kind of let you off. I gotta say, at the end, it's like boom,
Yeah.
and then you have to read a couple lines of text. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
I think. Well, I believe they were planning a second season. To keep pursuing
I
this
wonder
theory.
if they're, because they're calling that
They
season
say
1.
it's no. Yeah, but they say
Yeah.
no. I mean, the internet says no.
The
Not
internet
gonna
says
do it.
The internet is old.
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
He
But if they
wrote-
find the money, maybe
Oh, yeah.
when people start watching our video, they'll
Yeah.
do a
Right.
second season.
I could be in it. I could be. Yeah. Well, they
No,
do.
you could.
Well, they
I think you're too tall.
They do the reenactment stuff. I could be a reenactor. Well, they'll just have to put me around other tall people and I'll look like I'm 5'6".
That's right.
I could totally do it.
That was one of the
Sure
arguments.
could.
That's one of the arguments
agree.
they had.
I have to
Yeah.
get a better mustache, so more.
I
Or
think
maybe
the
just
mustache
grow
is
your own.
perfect.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah, I do. I think it looks
I think I
good.
need a higher quality one. Now. It looks like I grew it.
I want to know how that is adhering to your face. Did you glue it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just-
he glued it.
It's
Oh, he actually has.
He has mustache glue.
yeah, I came prepared, man. Yeah, it's a costume stuff. It's a Halloween
That's
thing.
great.
Yeah.
Again, you get it at the Halloween store.
Got it.
It's called gum. It's called spirit gum,
Oh,
and it's the
appropriate
spirit
name.
gum remover.
That's an appropriate name.
Okay.
But anyway,
Anyway,
so Jeff
look into my
Mudgett.
eyes.
Jeff Mudgett
Tell me
is
that.
still on this campaign.
Tell me about it.
You're
Getting a
awfully
little
friendly
crazy
with that
now.
skull.
I should have been suspicious. She was measuring my skull.
One of those calipers.
That's a little scary.
That's why we put our knives away before he came.
Jeez. Now, where was I before I was so rudely interrupted?
Talking about the end of the show.
So because there were still Ripper-style murders going on, and Jeff Mudgett is now, and the deaths of the people that were surrounding the trial,
Right.
Jeff Mudgett is convinced that his great-great-grandfather, H.H. Holmes, escaped the gallows. That he was not, and he gave weird instructions for his gravesite. Jeff Mudgett said he gave those instructions so people wouldn't be able to get in there to find out that he lied, that you know, that
He wasn't there.
The instructions included things like buying 2 plots, putting him in the middle. There was no headstone. The coffin was encased in cement. There are actually 2 coffins in that grave.
Right.
They got to one, it was
Empty.
empty. Then, and you know, they got permission to exhume.
Right. Which is
Grave.
pretty. That's pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
you can do a TV show and start digging up.
His grave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well, he
he's
was
a
a
relative.
family
Right.
Member,
Right.
yeah, that's where he. If
Yeah.
he wasn't a family member, they probably would have.
Yeah,
No,
they
they
had to
wouldn't
get
have been able
permission. They had to
to.
get permission from the family.
Yeah.
So
And they took his dang bones right up on
Yeah.
that.
Wow, they took them all
took
out.
You
his
could
bones
see
out.
him laid out on the table.
And they did prove that that was a relative of Jeff Mudgett.
So it probably
Was H.H. Holmes
almost 100%
in
was him.
in that grave. through DNA analysis.
Right.
And what I found really interesting was they had to send those bones fragments to England for DNA analysis because they have a specialty lab there
Oh, wow.
for analyzing these.
Scotland Yard.
No, that's a police station.
Yes, but they're all attached with Scotland Yard investigation.
So what you didn't get, you looked that up afterwards, or was that?
It was in there.
Oh, they sent it to England for?
They sent when
Right.
Circle
and
of
then-
life.
And then,
When
Mudgett gets on TV and he's like, nope, I'm still convinced he's the Ripper.
Yeah.
So ultimately, his great
He wants me-
grandson said he was.
He's still, well, he's
Okay.
still, yeah, he's still on it.
How
Yeah.
about the CIA woman that was working with him? What did she think?
She thought it was very compelling
Yeah,
on the
but she
evidence that they
wouldn't.
found.
Okay.
I mean, she doesn't know 100%. Nobody does.
Yeah,
Well-
I'm still not
Right.
convinced. She said
That
she moved a
doesn't-
little further from being completely skeptical that it wasn't a possibility.
Yeah.
To after.
Well, he could still be Jack the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he died, he just wasn't that guy that got out and killed those other people.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Because they proved that was him in the grave.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, that they were talking about too is the psychology of a murder like this, and that a psychopath, some of them do evolve. A lot of people kill the same way.
yes.
They'll do the similar patterns, and that's one way they can trace. That's what those conical five are to a fictitious figure, Jack the Ripper, who, it could have been separate people that killed those women. We don't know, but they
Right.
were similar.
Right.
And so the police theory and human theory is that people that kill and do that stuff, they'll repeat the same thing.
Although,
And that,
I'm sorry. Although in there, didn't they say that Jack the Ripper sent information to the police?
yeah, they're cutting the ear off.
Yeah. Before anything
he
was
did it.
released to the media, so they more than likely think it was him
Right, that's the
that
one.
did.
Right.
So it could have been different people, but because of the knowledge
Yeah.
that he had of the murders, they do believe it was him. So I apologize.
No,
Just wanted to-
that's right.
Yeah.
But also that murder, people that murder and people that are homicidal tend to, and even serial killers tend to use the same type of patterns. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Some psychopaths can evolve and do completely different things. That's somewhat
Yeah.
rare. But I was just looking up, like how many that the United States has more serial killers per capita than anywhere in the world, and number two, it's like not even close. Like it's 2,743 serial killers per. I don't know what per capita means. And then the next number two is England at 145.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
way more.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, like we're
then
number one.
Did they break
We're
it
number
down?
one in serial killers.
It seems to me that most serial killers are white male.
Yes.
That's true. White
Yeah.
male 33.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it turns out there were 800 women who disappeared during the World's Fair.
My
Wow.
Goodness.
Wow.
See, like
800.
Like
I don't
if
think
that
you could've
happened now,
killed
I don't think
how could
all
that
that.
happen now? Like then it could happen, right?
Yeah.
And